Do we know what we're doing? No. Are we going to do it anyway? Yes. I'm your host, Alexandra Broxma, and this is First Time Energy. Hi, I'm Alex, and I'm the host of First Time Energy. I need everyone listening today to understand something right out of the gate. There was a time in my life, not even that long ago, where if you would have looked me dead in the face and said, Alex, you're going to own almost 100 wigs, I probably would have laughed at you. I would never have believed that I would know what lace front means, what hair density means, that I would be texting my friends asking, does my hair look okay? Or letting them know I have pink hair today, I have green hair today. Because I thought wigs were for a very specific category of people. 1, celebrities. 2, women on reality TV shows. 3, people going through any kind of medical situations. None of those are me. Now, I'll tell you something that I am. I am a Midwestern mom of 3. I'm biracial, and I absolutely have race-related identity issues. I have a Starbucks addiction, and I have an inability to commit to any paint color in my house for more than 2 years at a time. I'm not a wig person. I just didn't see myself as that, or so I thought. Because apparently, all it takes is a small identity crisis, some social media algorithms, and access to adult money. And the next thing you know, you're researching bleach knots at 11:30 at night while nursing an 18-month-old child. So today we're talking about my wig journey. And this is not a story just about fake hair. It's a story about vanity, impulse spending, humility, public insecurity, and the deeply humbling experience of trying to enter a world where everyone else somehow knows what the hell they're doing except for you. So, if you've ever made a wildly unnecessary but emotionally justified purchase in the name of bettering yourself, this one is for you. Let me just jump right into this today. I appreciate everyone listening. This is my first solo episode. I am trying to sit back, relax a little, just feel a little more comfortable in front of the microphone and in front of the video. It's not something that I typically do, so working through that will be an experience. But I thought it would be an important episode to let all of you listeners know a little bit about me and to see some of my vulnerability. Most of my friends, all of my family know that I wear wigs. And I'm honestly constantly being surprised day in and day out with the amount of people who still don't know that I wear wigs. Let's go back to the origin of this story. I had very curly hair as a child, and honestly, it never let me down. On the mornings when I would wake up late for the bus, and I'd have like 17 minutes to get out of the shower to the bus stop and get on the bus because I missed my alarm, I would get my hair wet, I'd put a little gel in it, I'd scrunch it, and I'd walk out the door, and I would get beautiful spiral curls, and it was a beautiful experience. Because of that, I have not ever effectively learned how to use any hot hair tools, if you will, curling irons. But I guess a straightener, I learned how to use a straightener. But when I was 18, I had my senior pictures taken. And that was honestly the last time I remember having what I would consider to be a full head of hair. I went into school for massage therapy. And that honestly is beside the point. But I specifically remember a moment while sitting in one of those classes at massage school after having spent a day at the water park when I noticed my scalp was shedding and I couldn't figure out what it was. I had just experienced my first sunburn on my scalp, and this was the product of that. It was the shedding dead skin. It was such an odd experience because I had never had that before. um, I mentioned that I am a woman with a race-related identity crisis. I am biracial. My mom is white, my dad is black. And I grew up in a predominantly white household in a predominantly white community. And I had never had a sunburn. That was just like the benefit of my brown skin. So this was just a whole new experience for me. And that was when I really started noticing that my hair was thinning. So let's fast forward just a little bit. My hair starts thinning and I'm aware of it. I've talked to my mom. Apparently, this was normal. She reminded me of a moment in time when I graduated high school, and my biological grandmother, we'll just refer to her as that, maybe we'll get into that story a different day, had sent me a check for graduation for $1,000. And there's two things that I remember about this check. The first thing is it was the most money at 18 that I'd ever seen in a check. It was for $1,000. And I asked my mom, I think it says $1,000, or did she put the decimal in the wrong place? Um, to which my mom said, well, that's blood money. But anyway, again, beside the point. I said she should have saved it for hair plugs because I knew enough about my biological grandmother to know that she also had thinning hair. So that's what I thought she should have used it for. Now, what I didn't know is that that was coming for me. So here we are. As I get into my early 20s, without realizing that it was making me self-conscious, I was just aware of the fact that my hair was thinning. And I tried everything: shampoos, powders where you sprinkle them on the top of your head. You pray that it doesn't rain or that you sweat it all out and it runs down your face. Fortunately, I never had that experience, but it was something that was definitely a fear in my mind. I tried halo extensions. You put them around your head. It's a wire. The extensions are on the wire. You set them on and you pull your hair out the top and your hair sits on top and these extensions flow out the bottom. And honestly, those pictures are a terrifying reminder of some of the things I tried to remedy this, because what I didn't know at the time was about density. And I just thought, wow, if I get these double thick, then this will make my hair look better. Instead, the top of my head looked extremely thin and bare, and the bottom looked abnormally thick. It was a whole thing. And then it was too heavy and it left this line on my forehead and all these things. So I've tried a multitude of different things. It was 2016 and I now have two children. And as women know, your hormones change after you've had kids and it can cause hair loss. Generally speaking, it's temporary, but as your hormones fluctuate, that's just a product of that. And I remember my ex-husband and I went to a concert and we took a picture together. When I was reviewing those photos afterwards, I realized I was cutting off the top of my head in the photo, and I had just strategically taken it so it was about just right at where my hairline is, and you couldn't see anything else above it. And it was in that moment, as I'm looking at that photo, my son is 18 months old, and I'm thinking, wow, shouldn't my hormones have kind of gone back to normal? That I realized this problem wasn't going away. And by problem, I mean the problem in my own mind. So I start thinking back, and my mom had started wearing wigs. She's a white woman in Iowa, and she had thinning hair, and she dug deep, and she bought a wig. And I remember when she wore it, she was talking about the heat sensitivity and how she couldn't open the oven because it might melt and all these crazy things. And I thought, there's no way I'm wearing a wig. At that time, the only reference I could come up with in my mind of who wears wigs is Kim Zolciak from Real Housewives of Atlanta, circa 2009. And if any of you have seen that, it's a thing. You should just Google it. And I didn't want that to be the narrative. I didn't want people to look at Alex and say, wow, look at her hairline. At that time, I just decided, I don't know that a wig is the right way to go. Once you start looking into it, you realize wigs are also extremely expensive. And you hear human hair and, I don't know, a synthetic and all these different things. So as I start looking into this, my mom suggests a place because she knows someone called the Hair Restoration Center. We go to the Hair Restoration Center one day, kids in tow, and this place is fantastic. They take the time, the energy, and just care for their client base. And they sit you down and they look at your hair and they ask you why are you looking at wigs? What wig options are available for you? What color would look good on you? It's almost like those color profiles they do now, so you can determine what color you should be wearing for your skin tone. And I'm a firm believer in everything happens for a reason. So if everything happens for a reason, I was directed to the Hair Restoration Center that day on purpose. The owner of the Hair Restoration Center, who has now passed away, says to me, I know that this is a little expensive. And by expensive, let me tell you, like $1,500 expensive. We are talking expensive. So he tells me, we special order these. We custom make them for everyone. And I have one I'd love for you to try on so you can just see it, get an idea if it's something that you would like. Okay, well, yeah, of course I'm going to like it. I'd also like to have, top of the line Lincoln, but I don't drive one of those. I drive a Toyota Highlander. Anyway, if my husband's listening, I would like a new vehicle. So back to the story at hand. We go into this room. He pulls out this topper. And now when I say a topper, it's kind of like, it is really the concept of a toupee, but it has little clips in it in 4 places. And you set it on the top of your head. You clip 1 in the front, 1 in the back, and 2 on the sides. When you do this, it clips into your existing hair and your natural hair falls below, which is great because you still get to have some semblance, some of who you are, and feel normal because your hair is there. So I try this on. It's gorgeous. It's a dark chestnut brown, which matches my natural hair. A lot of people think I actually have black hair, but fun fact, I don't. It's dark brown. And it's just beautiful. Honestly, it's just the most gorgeous hair I've ever seen. It exactly my curl pattern. It is exactly the length that I would want. And I'm looking at myself and I feel almost like a jolt of confidence. I have no idea where it came from. Then reality sets in and I say, how much is something like this? What's it going to cost me? And he says, $1,500. Now, I think that there's a common saying in marriages, ask for forgiveness, something like that. I don't know. Anyway, what's the line? It's like, don't ask for permission, ask for forgiveness. I don't know. Listen, here's the deal. As a marriage tip, that's good to some degree, but set a dollar limit. And I can tell you right now, $1,500 is probably over that dollar limit. There's no way. And I say, there's no way. I cannot afford $1,500. It sucks, but it is what it is. He says, and remember, this is where I believe that things are meant to be. He says to me, someone ordered this a few years ago. They paid half of the dollar value, and it's just been sitting here for years. I will sell it to you for what's still owed. I said, what's still owed? $750. I don't know that I could ask for forgiveness for that, but let me just at least go have a conversation. Long story short, I bought the hairpiece for $750, and it was the best decision I have ever made in my entire life. I had a problem. I made a choice to do something about it, and my confidence came back. As a mid-20-something-year-old, you're thinking, gosh, I still probably have another 70 years left of my life, and do I want to live with thinning hair? What am I going to do? Am I going to go get a hair transplant? I don't fucking know. All I know is I can't afford it. So here we are. I now own a $750 hairpiece. It's made of real human hair. I have to wash it, take care of it, be gentle with it. But the biggest hurdle is putting it on and going to work the next day. Fortunately, my best friend knew about it. And I tell her, I'm coming to work. I have new hair. I worked in an office building that had hundreds of people. You walked by the same 10 people every day on the way to your desk. My desk was at the beginning of that line. So if I walked by 10 people, the people who had to go past me, sometimes there were hundreds of them walking by me in a day. And all I can think about is everyone's going to know, everyone's going to know, everyone's going to know. And a handful of people did. They recognized it. They said something's different about you. And maybe they knew and they didn't say, but they were polite enough to just be like, something's different about you. You look good today. And that was it. That's all I needed, a jolt of confidence. Now, look, that's really vain, the fact that I needed to have these compliments. But I'm not going to lie to you. I'm vain. I like the compliments. Who doesn't want a compliment? I like your shoes. I teach my kids this every day. Give a compliment. You never know how it's going to turn someone's day around. I like your shoes. I like your shirt. Honestly, you don't have to mean it, but the intention behind it is to turn someone's day around, give them a boost. So pick the shoes, pick the purse, pick the shirt, whatever it is, give someone a compliment. Okay, let's fast forward a little further. Remember how I said I can't commit to paint colors for more than 2 years? Well, I also can't commit to the hair. I had tried to change my hair color as a teenager to anything, but because of how dark it was impossible. So I'm sitting here thinking, wait a minute, the Kardashians made this cool. I'm going to start changing my hair color. The problem with this is, are people going to know about it? Now, I'm dating my now husband at the time, and he said, I would like to change my hair color. I'm kind of afraid. I'd like to change the wig in general. I'm kind of afraid people are going to know about it though. And he goes, but isn't that kind of the point? If you just start changing your hair every day, it's kind of a talking point, but it becomes so normal that that's just who you are. Why would that even be a conversation topic for people? Because it's just what you do. And I said, yeah, well, I would also like to be a dress person, but you don't just get to wear dresses. You have to have like a dress body. And he says, that's the most asinine thing I've ever heard. If you just wear a dress, that makes you a dress person. That's a very simple-minded man thought process. But if you look back at it, it's pretty accurate. I'll give him credit for that one. And this leads me to the next portion of my story, where I discover Wish. Does everybody remember the app Wish? I don't even know if it still exists. But all I know is at this point, I can't afford to spend $1,500. I can't afford to spend $750, but I can afford to spend $3. I can't even say that with a straight face. Okay, I can afford to spend $3. And you know what's even better? I can afford to spend $3 4 times on one order for 4 different wigs. This is actually comical when I think about it. So I order the wigs. They show up. What you pay is what you get out of anything from Wish. This one's blonde. I don't know. I thought with my skin tone, I could maybe try to pull it off. That was a hard no. This is where I learn about tracks. The hair on wigs can be attached to something called a track. And if the wind blows and your wig is really thin, people can see the tracks. Think about when women would put in extensions, the clip-in extensions, and you could see their poor application process and you could see the hard line of the back. It's exactly like that. The problem is the track is generally a color that matches the hair. So this wig was probably made for someone who's blonde, and the tracks were this blonde looking colored fabric, and I have underneath dark hair. I also don't realize that I need to wear a wig cap at this point in time. The whole experience is a learning process. So I get the wig, I put it on. It's awful. Absolutely, hands down, awful. There's no way I can wear this out. I think I took a picture and I had to cover my natural hairline so that it just looked, I don't know, it was not good. All right, let's continue down this line. I start ordering some different wigs. I start doing some research, and I've discovered YouTube. Well, I mean, it wasn't the first time I discovered YouTube, but I discover on YouTube a lot of people have a lot more time on their hands than I do, and they're making videos about wigs. So I start doing the deep dive. Now my algorithm is suggesting things to me about wigs. It's 1 o'clock in the morning, and I'm researching wigs. Everything I can find out about them, similar to the process of me starting this podcast. I get into this, and I decide I'm going to order this wig off of Amazon. Now, I've got it on my notes here to talk to you about the close calls. Let me tell you about the first real close call I had wearing a wig. I'm dating my now husband, and we are going tailgating. And he says, I'm going to take you to meet my family, my extended family, and we're going to tailgate today, which is a great time. Who doesn't love to shotgun a beer? Problem is, I decide to wear a brand new wig I've never worn before. This is before I realize I have a teeny tiny child-size head and need additional supplies, we will say, to keep a wig on my head. So I wear a brand new wig. It has swoop over bangs. It's black, it's long, it's luxurious. And it's fine for the first hour. And we tailgate and we play drinking games and we're having a great time. And I ask if I can wear a hat because my wig is moving. I get a hat. It keeps the wig on. And we go to eat. We leave tailgating and we go to a bar to watch the football game. A few things going on in my mind. This is the first time I'm meeting my husband's extended family, and I want to know if any of them can tell I'm wearing a wig. I haven't told anybody publicly, but am I wearing a wig? Do they know? Second thing, I'm very aware of the fact that this wig is sliding all over left, right, up, and down, and it's impossible. The first thing I do is go straight to the bathroom, into a stall, close the door, rip the wig off, try to put it back on without anyone noticing any excessive movement in a stall because that would be odd. I get the wig on. I go back out to the table. I sit down across from my husband's cousin. And all I can think about is, can she tell that this thing is sliding back on my forehead, even though I just put it back on? And she says to me, "So is it true what they say about black guys?" That was immediately disarming because now I know she's not thinking about my wig. And to be honest, the rest of that day, no one cared about my wig. I cared about my wig. I was very much in my head about it. This is when I learned I needed help keeping them on my head. And I do some more research and find out you should probably wear a wig cap and what's called a wig grip. It's just a little piece of velvet, velcros to my head underneath the wig and keeps the wig on. And now, um, now we're at a time where I have purchased numerous wigs. Let's just jump to the point where I start real estate. So I get into real estate. I decide I am going to quit my corporate job, go into real estate, sell houses because I enjoy customer service. And you have to have headshots taken. So I have a headshot taken and I have this beautiful, long, luxurious wig on. And it's much, much longer and much thicker than my hair would ever have naturally been. But it's pretty and it looks like it just looks natural. I wanted a picture that was going to showcase me as a normal person to potential clients. So I go into what's called new agent school and I'm sitting there on the first day and my hair matches my headshot. And I come home and I've decided because I've been so in my head about wearing wigs for the last few years, maybe I should tell people up front that I wear them and this will become less of a thing. So I go into my second day and instead of wearing the exact same wig, I've changed into a pixie cut. Same color, just very, very short. And I walk in and I sit down next to the girl I had sat next to on day one, who has also very curly hair. And she looks at me and she says, "Did you cut your hair?" Which is an obviously rhetorical question because the day before my hair was 15 inches longer. um, but we're sitting there talking and I say, "No, I wear wigs. Did you get fooled?" And they all said yes. And it's in this moment that I realized no one gives a shit about my wig except for me. I'm the only person that's thinking about it. Now, I was thinking about it constantly in every new environment, but I'm the only one that cares that much. The good news is, by bringing it up the second day, I've now broken the ice. So I feel more comfortable about it. This also creates a situation of brand identity issues for me that I wasn't prepared for. Now I have a headshot with a specific image. And if you know anything about real estate headshots, people leave those headshots. There are active people in real estate right now who have headshots from 20 years ago. It's comical. But this creates a brand identity issue for me because now how are people going to recognize me? What if I become this multi-million-dollar agent and people want to recognize me by name and face and they don't recognize my face because I'm changing my hair? Because I have gotten to the point now where I'm changing my hair every day. I had been wearing wigs at that point for 2.5 years, 3 years, and I was feeling much more comfortable to just change my hair based on what I was wearing and how I was feeling. I actually had a genius idea. I thought at that moment, maybe I should create trading cards for my business. And every time someone works with me and then comes back or refers another client, I'll give them a different card with a different headshot. And when they click the 5 of them, they have a collector's pack and boom, I don't know, I reward them in some way. I'm still stuck in this brand identity. So I either have to lean into it or continue to wear the same wig over and over and over again. So I decide to lean into it. Everyone remembers March of 2020 when COVID hits, and we're in what we call a pandemic. And the thing I remember about this, Aside from the fact that I now have PTSD from my kids coming home at St. Patrick's Day and never returning back to school for the entirety of that school year, I remember March Madness is canceled. If you can't tell, I started a podcast partly because I enjoy talking to people, and I'm not afraid to just continue to carry the conversation. I feel like Tom Hanks when the pandemic happened and I'm being told I have to live in my house and I can't go talk to anybody anymore and I can't get out and I can't do things. I feel like Tom Hanks when he needs Wilson to talk to stay sane. So I start recording every day, going live on Facebook. And then I have another genius idea. I'm going to do a March Madness bracket with all of my wigs. So I go in my closet and I get my wigs out and I put them on and I take a selfie and I start posting them to social media and I have people vote. Okay. And we do a tournament bracket. This is the day I realize I have a wig problem. And by wig problem, I mean at that time I owned probably like 30 wigs, which really doesn't seem like that many now, but it's a lot. That was so fun. That brought so much fun and excitement to wearing wigs that I leaned in hard. I just said, you know what? Screw it. I'm going to wear whatever I want, whenever I want. And if people can't accept me for that, then it is what it is. This is also the moment, now that I've realized I have a wig problem, that you would think I would pare them down. But no, of course I don't. My husband and I get pregnant with our third child and we move. If we had moved to a house with a similar sized closet, this would be a problem that's probably well pared down and I wouldn't own as many wigs as I do now. But no, now we've moved to a house with a walk-in closet. And do you know what? Bigger closet equals more wigs. Now I have more wigs than I've ever had before. And honestly, as of today, I'm probably approaching. I did actually just throw 2 of them out. And I made a whole production of it. I said, look at this. This never happens. I'm throwing these away. These ones need replaced. So I would say I probably own somewhere close to 85 wigs, 85 wigs. And now let me touch on that for just a second. When I say I own 80 to 85 wigs, they are not all individual, unique hair patterns, colors, things like that. Some of them, actually, the wig I'm wearing today, I have 3 of. 2 in this color and 1 in a natural tone, because wigs are like shoes. You find a pair that's comfortable, you like them, and then they get discontinued. So of course, if I find one at a good price that's comfortable, that looks good, and because I'm vain, remember we're talking about the vanity issue here, if people have complimented it, well then of course I'm going to continue to want to wear that. But I know it's going to be discontinued at some point, so I buy multiple. I have honed my craft quite a bit, and wigs I can find them anywhere for $25 to $50 and feel really good about them. So I will say I have honed that in quite a bit and feel pretty good about the purchases that I've made. Now, have I made some larger purchases for more expensive ones? Absolutely. The human hair wigs are always great because those ones I can wear in water. Which brings me to my next close call. I specifically remember a float trip my husband and I took. And for those listeners who don't know what a float trip is, you hop on an inner tube in a river and you float down the river for hours at a time, generally with some adult beverages. And it's a unique experience. Some people can do that really casually. Some people make a whole thing of it. We, of course, make a whole thing of it. So we book a campground, we book a bus, we take the bus to the drop site. And because we camped overnight, I had a wig picked out that I could wear outside. And I thought I'll wear a headband over this to help protect my hairline so I don't get sunburned. The problem I'm not prepared for is how many drinks I had that day. And at some point, I remember ending up in the water, lounging in the inner tube. So my body's hanging over the inner tube, through the inner tube, and my legs are trailing behind me. That's about the end of what I remember of that trip until we get out of the water. We get out of the water. And it occurs to me that my headband is underneath my wig. I have no idea how that happened. I'm hoping that because I don't remember that, no one else on the trip remembers that. But all I can think about is how do I get this headband out from under the wig without ripping the wig off of my head and having to reapply it in the wild. And by in the wild, I mean actually in the wild. I make it back to camp and everything's fine. It's not a big deal. But again, another close call. Shortly after I started real estate, since we're on the close calls subject, since I started real estate, networking became a really big deal. And I remember there was one day I went to lunch with a newer agent at the time. And so I'm not sure if it was April Fool's Day or if it was around Halloween. Halloween sounds more appropriate because this agent, who will know who they are, and honestly, quite a few people will know who this agent is by this description, surprises me at lunch by coming dressed up as a giant pink gorilla. I'm shocked, and I have absolutely no idea what to think because I'm so distracted by the pink gorilla. It does not occur to me that the wig I'm wearing is slipping off of my forehead, down the back of my head while we're eating lunch. I think it was long and my back pressed against the booth and it started to pull and I could feel the pull. I immediately make an excuse to go to the bathroom. I get to the bathroom, I look in the mirror, and 2 inches from my hairline back is exposed and my wig looks horrible, absolutely horrible. Fortunately, there was no one in the stall. I go in, I close it, I take it off, I try to put it back on, and somehow manage to keep it on my head for the rest of lunch. I'm so grateful, and I don't know that the agent would know this or not, but I'm so grateful that that agent, if they knew, never said anything because I was extremely self-conscious about it and embarrassed. And I don't know why I'm embarrassed, but I was. That was my other close call. This brings me to more present day. And now that more people know that I have wigs, it's become a fun and exciting experience because I do absolutely pick out my wigs based on what I'm wearing for the day, what my emotional energy feels like. If it's cloudy and gloomy, I like to wear bright colors. I actually had on a blue wig just a couple days ago when the mailman who comes to deliver mail at my office came in yesterday and said, "Didn't you just have blue hair?" And I said, "Yeah. It was a wig." And he goes, "What?" He said, "Well, I like the blue wig and I think that you should wear it more." And more often than not, I'm met with that type of positivity. And it's so heartwarming and genuine. And it just reminds you that you're the only person that cares that much. Now, I do have to say, I feel obligated day in and day out when I get compliments to tell people I'm wearing a wig. Some of the colors that I choose are fun and exciting, and you only see them in the magazines. And how do you get a hairstylist to make it work? And I see all these Facebook posts of hairstylists saying, "That's going to take forever. That's not real. You can't do that. It's unachievable." And I'm sure that the girls and women who are trying to achieve these looks are spending hundreds of dollars to make this happen because you can't go from dark hair to blonde hair overnight and expect it to look good. So when I pay $25 for a wig and someone's like, "Oh my God, your hair is gorgeous," I feel obligated to tell them. And most of the time I'm met with, "What? That's a wig? You didn't have to tell people that." And I absolutely don't. But I feel like I want to because I feel like I want to empower people to go out and try something new, try something different. Find what fits you. And if it's just for a day, then it's just for a day. This brings me to the last close call. There's not a lot of things that people can do to upset me. Actually, that's probably a lie. But anyway, it's interesting when people know that you wear wigs because they do want to help you. They want to say, "Oh, your hair, your part is blown over from the wind," because I can't feel it. So they help you, they fix it. There's people who say, "Gosh, let me help you with this. It's tangled." But the one thing you should never, ever, ever do, and this is a lesson to the listeners, never touch a woman's wig. It's not yours. You're in their personal space. And maybe they want it that way. You might think you're being helpful, but you could be creating the biggest disaster of their life. Because while I'm comfortable wearing wigs and while I'm comfortable telling people I wear wigs, I'm still extremely self-conscious when I don't have one on. All right. I feel like I've gone through quite a bit of this, and it feels like a serious topic today, but I really wanted to bring that vulnerability to you as listeners. As you see me starting this podcast, and the purpose of this is to remind you that things can be awkward and that's totally fine. Just do it. No one cares. Be a dress person, be a wig person. I don't know. Go do whatever it is you want to do. Now, one of the segments that I have grown to love in just a very short period of time is called Commit or Cancel. And I thought, you know what would my commit or cancel questions look like for someone who is talking about wearing wigs? But I just want to put a small spin on it. I'm going to change this to, would I recommit to this or would I cancel the nonsense? Okay. So my first one is spending a stupid amount of money on hair that's not technically yours. Commit, commit, commit. Listen, women are wearing extensions all the time now. And half the time, I don't know unless they tell me. And I'm going to be really honest. I'm actually assuming now that everyone has extensions over assuming that they don't. So absolutely. And you can get reasonable wigs, $25, $30 on Amazon. Just do some research. Copy paste the wig you want into your Google search bar, type the word review after it and see what comes back. Okay. Would I recommit or cancel to learning how to glue my wig down? I think that's a recommit. I actually don't even use a wig glue because I found that hair gel works really easily. So I just use Got to Be hair gel, put that down, put my wig on, tie like a scarf around my head, and in 5 minutes, I'm done and ready to go. Would I recommit or cancel to wearing something on my head that I'm deeply afraid might shift in public? I think I recommit to that every day. So that's definitely a commit. You just have to get past that fear. And that is much easier, much, much easier said than done. Would I recommit or cancel to the emotional confidence boost of a really good wig? 100% recommit. Go, go, go. Do it once. If it doesn't serve you, move on. Would I recommit or cancel to the first public outing in a wig when you're convinced everyone knows? You have to commit to it. I mean, you really do. If you're going to get through that hurdle, you have to face it head on. I wish there was a better pun for that. Head on, wig on. You have to face it. I don't know. There should be a pun for that. The last one, and it's a big one. Would I recommit or cancel to entering the wig world at all? Life upgrade or expensive psychological experiment? Well, a little bit of both. It's really brought a lot of positivity to my life, confidence. Honestly, I don't know if I would be where I am today if I hadn't found the confidence and relearned how to find that confidence. And it's amazing the amount when you have the confidence, what it can do for you and the places it can take you. So I 100% recommit to the life upgrade for sure. Now, I always finish up my podcast with a segment called This Is How We Do It. It's a 60-second wrap up of what should you do to prepare yourself for this situation. And I would say if you're having thoughts about wearing a wig, my first piece of advice is just do it. Get out of your head and buy one. The first step is to buy one. The second step, buy one that's close to your natural hair color. Buy one that's close to the natural style you have. If you have long hair, get a long wig. If you have short hair, get a short wig. But buy something as close as possible to your natural hair color. That way, when you put it on, it looks a little different and it feels a little off and a little bit awkward, but you feel comfortable because it looks similar. Step 3, maybe buy one closer to winter. You spend a lot less time outside during the winter, so you can wear it around the house and get used to it. There's definitely a learning curve to it, and a lot of people complain about them being hot. During winter's perfect because if you go outside and it's cold, you now have a hat without even trying. But that gives you the opportunity to wear it around the house and just try it on without having to stress about if you're going to get hot and sweaty and want to take it off. Step 4, dig deep. It could be a wild ride, and everyone's hair journey is so different and unique to their individual circumstances. But I highly encourage you to do it. Take the step, try something new. I always tell people, try everything once. If it doesn't serve you, let it go. Thank you again for coming on this ride with me. This is my first solo episode, And I hope my next solo episode is a little bit lighter. And honestly, the one I have planned is quite a bit lighter. So you'll definitely want to tune in for that one. But thank you again for all the support along the way. And I will see you next time. Follow First Time Energy for new episodes about navigating life's first with humor, honesty, and zero sugarcoating. Hit follow so you don't miss the next chaotic learning curve.